The rain came down in sheets that November evening, the kind of rain that soaks you through in seconds. David pulled his jacket tighter as he hurried across the grocery store parking lot. His shift at the hardware store had run late, and now he was rushing to grab milk and bread before heading home to his kids. At 42 years old, David had gotten used to the juggling act. Ever since losing his wife 3 years ago, every day felt like a carefully balanced routine. Work, pick up the kids, make dinner, help with homework, repeat. He didn't have time for surprises or detours. But that night, something made him pause. Under the grocery store's awning, barely visible in the dim light, sat a young girl. She couldn't have been more than 16 or 17. Her dark hair was plastered to her face, and she was hugging a small backpack, like it was the only thing keeping her together. Most people walked right past her. David almost did too. He stood there for a moment, bags in hand, watching her shiver. She wasn't asking anyone for money. She wasn't making eye contact. She just sat there staring at nothing, looking completely lost. David thought about his own daughter, Sophie, who was 14. What if Sophie was out there somewhere, cold and alone? Before he could talk himself out of it, David walked over. "Hey," he said gently. "You okay?" The girl looked up, startled. Her eyes were red, probably from crying, though it was hard to tell with all the rain. She nodded quickly but didn't say anything. "You waiting for someone?" David asked. "Bus," she said quietly. "There's one in the morning." David glanced at his watch. It was almost 8:30. "That's a long wait. Have you eaten anything?" She shook her head. Every instinct told David to be careful. You couldn't just trust strangers these days, and bringing home a teenage girl he didn't know could look wrong in so many ways. But something in her eyes stopped him from walking away. She looked scared, yes, but more than that, she looked exhausted, like someone who'd been running for too long. "Listen," David said, surprising himself. "There's a diner right across the street. Why don't you let me buy you some food? You can get warm, dry off a bit." The girl hesitated, studying his face. "Why?" It was a fair question. "Because you look like you could use a hot meal," David said. "And because I've got a daughter about your age. I'd hope someone would do the same for her." Something shifted in her expression. After a long moment, she nodded and stood up, clutching her backpack. They didn't talk much as they crossed the street to Mike's diner. The place was nearly empty, just a couple of truckers in the corner booth. They slid into a table by the window, and David ordered coffee while the girl studied the menu like she was trying to memorize it. "Get whatever you want," David said. She ordered a burger and fries, then added almost apologetically, "And maybe some soup?" "Of course." When the food came, she ate slowly at first, like she was trying to be polite. But David could see how hungry she really was. He sipped his coffee and waited, not pushing her to talk. "I'm Lisa," she said finally between bites. "David, nice to meet you, Lisa." "Thanks for this," she said, not quite meeting his eyes. "I'll pay you back someday." "Don't worry about it." David stirred his coffee. "So where are you headed?" "California. Got family there." "That's a long trip." "Your family know you're coming?" Lisa's jaw tightened slightly. "It's complicated." David recognized that tone. His daughter used it whenever she didn't want to explain something. He decided not to press. Instead, he asked, "You got somewhere safe to stay tonight? Until that bus comes?" "I'll be fine," Lisa said quickly. Too quickly. David looked out the window at the pouring rain. The temperature was supposed to drop into the 30s tonight. He thought about Lisa sitting under that awning for the next 10 hours, cold and alone. He thought about his wife and what she would have done. Amy never could walk past someone who needed help. "Look," David said slowly. "I know this might sound weird, and you can absolutely say no, but I've got a couch at my place. You could get a decent night's sleep, stay warm and dry. I've got 2 kids at home, so you wouldn't be alone with just me. And in the morning, I can drive you to the bus station." Lisa stared at him like he'd just offered her $1 million. "Why would you do that?" "Honestly, I don't know," David admitted. "It's probably not the smartest thing I've ever done. But I can't just leave you out there in this weather." Lisa was quiet for a long time. David could see her weighing her options, trying to figure out if he was dangerous. Finally, she spoke. "Okay, but just for tonight." "Just for tonight," David agreed. The drive to David's house was quiet except for the sound of the windshield wipers. David called ahead to let his kids know he was bringing someone home. "Dad's bringing a guest," was all he said, not wanting to explain over the phone. His house was a small 2-bedroom in a quiet neighborhood. Nothing fancy, but it was home. When they walked in, both kids were on the couch watching TV. His son Tommy, who was 10, looked up with curiosity. Sophie, his 14-year-old, had her arms crossed and a suspicious look on her face. "Kids, this is Lisa," David said. "She's going to stay on the couch tonight." "Lisa, this is Sophie and Tommy." "Hi," Tommy said cheerfully. Sophie just nodded, her eyes never leaving Lisa. David showed Lisa where the bathroom was and found her some clean towels and a spare blanket. "There's leftovers in the fridge if you get hungry later," he said. "And the remote's right there if you want to watch TV." "Thank you," Lisa said softly. She looked uncomfortable, like she wasn't used to accepting kindness. After David got the kids ready for bed, he noticed Sophie lingering in the hallway. "Dad, are you sure about this?" she whispered. "About what?" "About her. We don't know anything about her. What if she's dangerous? What if she steals something?" David put a hand on his daughter's shoulder. "Sophie, sometimes people just need help. She's scared and alone. Wouldn't you want someone to help you if you were in that situation?" Sophie didn't look convinced, but she nodded and went to her room. David checked on Lisa one more time before bed. She was curled up on the couch, already under the blanket, but her eyes were open. "You need anything?" he asked. "No, this is really nice. Thank you." "Get some rest," David said, but David couldn't rest. He lay in bed staring at the ceiling, wondering if he'd made the right choice. He didn't know anything about this girl. Where she came from, why she was really running, what she was running from. Part of him wanted to call the police, but another part worried that would just make things worse for her. Around 2 in the morning, he woke up needing the bathroom. As he walked down the hall, he heard quiet crying from the living room. He paused, unsure what to do. Then he heard Lisa's voice, barely a whisper. "I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. Please, I'm sorry." She was having a nightmare. David walked quietly into the living room. Lisa was tossing and turning, tears streaming down her face even though she was still asleep. He gently touched her shoulder. Lisa, wake up. You're okay. You're safe." Her eyes flew open, wild and confused. For a moment, she didn't seem to recognize where she was. Then reality settled in and she pulled the blanket up to her chin. "Sorry," she whispered. "Did I wake you?" "It's okay. Bad dream?" She nodded, wiping her eyes. As she moved, her sleeve rode up and David saw them. Dark bruises circled her wrist like fingerprints. His stomach dropped. Lisa noticed him staring and quickly pulled her sleeve down. "I'm fine," she said, but David knew she wasn't fine. Not even close. Whatever this girl was running from, it was bad. "Really bad, Lisa," he said carefully. "If someone hurt you, I said I'm fine." Her voice was firmer now. "Please, I just need to get to California. That's all?" David wanted to push, wanted to call the police right then, but he could see the fear in her eyes. She was like a wounded animal ready to run at any moment. "Okay," he said finally. "Try to get some sleep. We'll talk in the morning." He went back to his room, but sleep was impossible now. His mind raced with questions and concerns. Who had hurt this girl? What was she running from? And what was he supposed to do about it? Outside, the rain continued to fall, washing the streets clean. Inside, a teenage girl tried to sleep on a stranger's couch, not knowing that this one night would change everything. And in his bedroom, David stared at the ceiling, unaware that his simple act of kindness was about to uncover something much bigger than either of them could imagine. Sometimes the right choice isn't the easy one. Sometimes it's the choice that keeps you awake at night, wondering if you did enough. David didn't know it yet, but tomorrow morning would bring answers he never expected, and questions he wasn't prepared to face. David barely slept that night. Every time he closed his eyes, he saw those bruises on Lisa's wrist. He kept telling himself he'd done the right thing by giving her shelter, but doubt crept in during the quiet hours. What if he was making things worse? What if whoever hurt her came looking? When morning light finally crept through his bedroom window, David got up and made his way to the kitchen. It was just past 6, earlier than usual, but he wanted to check on Lisa before the kids woke up. She was already awake. In fact, her blanket was neatly folded on the couch and her backpack was by the door. She stood near the window, looking out at the street like she was expecting someone. "Morning," David said quietly, not wanting to startle her. Lisa turned quickly. "Morning. I should probably get going soon." "The bus doesn't leave until 9:30, David said, glancing at the clock. "At least let me make you some breakfast." You've done enough already. It's just eggs and toast. Come on. David moved to the kitchen and started pulling out pans. After a moment, Lisa followed, still keeping her backpack within reach. As David cracked eggs into a pan, he heard Sophie's door open. His daughter appeared in the hallway, hair messy from sleep, wearing her favorite oversized sweater. She looked at Lisa, then at her father. "Morning, sweetie," David said. "Want some breakfast?" "Sure." Sophie sat at the table, not quite looking at Lisa. The tension in the room was thick enough to cut with a knife. Tommy bounded out next, full of energy despite the early hour. "Is that girl still here? Cool." He plopped down next to Sophie. "So where are you from? Why are you going to California? Do you have brothers and sisters? What's your favorite video game?" "Tommy," David said gently. "Give her some space, buddy." "It's okay," Lisa said, managing a small smile. "I don't have any brothers or sisters, and I'm not really into video games." "Not into video games?" Tommy looked shocked, like she'd just said she didn't believe in gravity. "Everyone likes video games." "Not everyone," Sophie muttered. David shot his daughter a look as he served up plates of scrambled eggs and toast. They ate in uncomfortable silence for a few minutes. David could see Sophie watching Lisa carefully, like she was trying to solve a puzzle. "So you're going to California," Sophie said finally. "To see family?" "My aunt," Lisa said quietly. "Does she know you're coming?" Lisa hesitated just a fraction too long. "Yeah," Sophie raised an eyebrow. She was sharp, David's daughter. Too sharp sometimes. "Must be nice to have family out there." "Sophie," David warned. "What?" "I'm just making conversation." But there was an edge to Sophie's voice that David recognized. She was being protective, which he appreciated, but she was also making their guest uncomfortable. After breakfast, Tommy went to get ready for school while Sophie cleared the dishes. Lisa offered to help, but Sophie waved her off. "I've got it." David walked Lisa to the living room. "I'll drive you to the bus station in about an hour." "That work?" "Yeah, thanks." Lisa sat on the edge of the couch, fidgeting with the zipper on her backpack. David noticed she kept glancing at her phone. Except he realized she didn't have a phone. She was just staring at her empty hands, probably wishing she did. "Lisa," he said carefully, sitting in the chair across from her. "I need to ask you something, and I need you to be honest with me." She looked up, fear flashing across her face. "Are you safe?" David asked. "I mean, wherever you're going, are you going to be safe?" "I'm fine. Those bruises on your wrist don't look like fine." Lisa's hand immediately went to her wrist, pulling her sleeve down even though it was already covered. "It's not what you think." "Then tell me what it is." "I can't." Her voice cracked. "I just need to get to California. My aunt will know what to do." "Does your aunt know what happened to you?" Lisa stood up abruptly. "I should go. I can walk to the bus station. In this cold. It's 3 miles. David stood too, keeping his voice calm. "Lisa, I'm not trying to make things harder for you. I'm just worried. You're 16, maybe 17, traveling alone with bruises on your wrists and nightmares that make you cry in your sleep. Something's not right." Tears welled up in Lisa's eyes. "Please don't call anyone, please. If you call the police or social services, they'll send me back, and I can't go back there." "I can't," David's heart sank. "Back where?" Before Lisa could answer, Sophie appeared in the doorway. "Dad, can I talk to you?" "In private?" David followed his daughter into the kitchen. Sophie kept her voice low. "Dad, something's really wrong with her." "I know. So what are you going to do?" "I don't know yet." David ran a hand through his hair. "She's terrified of me calling the authorities." "But those bruises, I saw them too," Sophie interrupted. "When she was washing her hands earlier. They're on both wrists." Sophie's expression softened. "Dad, I'm sorry I was being rude to her. I was just, I don't know, protective of us, I guess. But she needs help." David pulled his daughter into a hug. "You've got a good heart, kiddo. Just like your mom." When they returned to the living room, Lisa was standing by the door again, ready to bolt, but Sophie walked right up to her. "Hey," Sophie said, "I made too much pancake batter this morning. Want some?" "My dad's eggs are okay, but my pancakes are actually good." Lisa blinked in surprise. "You made pancakes?" "Making them right now, actually." "Come on." Sophie headed back to the kitchen, and after a moment, Lisa followed. David watched as his daughter pulled out the pancake mix and started cooking. She chatted casually about school. about her favorite TV shows, about nothing important, just normal teenage conversation, and slowly Lisa began to relax. Tommy came out dressed for school and immediately asked for pancakes too. Before long, they were all sitting around the kitchen table again. But this time the atmosphere was different, warmer. "These are really good," Lisa said, and she actually smiled. "Told you," Sophie said with a grin. For a moment it almost felt normal. Like Lisa was just a friend visiting, not a scared runaway with secrets and bruises. But then Tommy, in his innocent 10-year-old way, asked the question that changed everything. "So, do your parents know where you are?" The kitchen went silent. Lisa's fork froze halfway to her mouth. Her face went pale. "Tommy," David started, but Lisa cut him off. "My mom died when I was 11. Her voice was barely a whisper. "And I don't have a dad." "Not really?" "Oh." Tommy looked down at his plate. "Sorry." "It's okay." But Lisa's hands were shaking now. "I lived with my aunt for a while after my mom died. But then social services said she couldn't take care of me properly. Not enough money, not enough space. So they put me in a foster home." David's stomach twisted. "Foster care. That explained a lot. And your foster family?" Sophie asked gently. "Are they the ones you're running from?" Lisa's eyes filled with tears. She nodded. "Did they hurt you?" David asked, even though he already knew the answer. Lisa started crying then, really crying. Not the quiet tears from last night, but deep, shaking sobs. Sophie immediately got up and put her arm around her. Tommy looked scared and confused. "He said I was ungrateful," Lisa choked out between sobs. "He said I should be thankful for a roof over my head. But he was always angry. And his wife, she just looked away. She never helped." "How long were you there?" David asked. 8 months. I tried to tell my caseworker, but she said I was making things up. Said I had a history of lying because I ran away from other homes." Lisa wiped her eyes roughly. "But I only ran away from those places because I was trying to get to my aunt. I just wanted to be with family, you know? Real family." David moved closer. "Lisa, we need to contact the authorities." "No!" She stood up so fast her chair fell over. "No, you don't understand. They'll send me back to that system. They'll put me in another home, maybe worse. I just need to get to my aunt. She's the only one who ever really cared about me." "Does your aunt know you're coming?" Sophie asked quietly. Lisa's silence was answer enough. "You don't know if she still lives there," David said, "or if she can take you in." "She will," Lisa insisted. "She has to." David looked at his daughter, then at his son, then back at this broken teenage girl standing in his kitchen. He thought about what his wife would do. Amy always said that doing the right thing wasn't always the easy thing. "Okay," David said slowly. "Here's what we're going to do. We're going to make some calls together, not to the police or your caseworker, but we need to find out if your aunt is even at that address, and we need to make sure you're actually safe. You'll call her?" Lisa asked, hope flickering in her eyes. "We'll try." David pulled out his phone. "What's her name and number?" "Jennifer Chen, but I don't have her number. I just have her address. I wrote it down years ago." Lisa pulled out a crumpled piece of paper from her backpack. On it, in careful handwriting, was an address in Los Angeles. David looked at that paper and realized just how desperate this situation was. This girl had run away with nothing but a backpack and a 4-year-old address, hoping to find someone who might not even remember her. "All right," David said. "Let's see what we can find out." But as he started searching for information, his phone buzzed with a text from his boss. He'd completely forgotten about work, and Tommy needed to get to school. And Sophie had a test today. Normal life was trying to continue, but nothing about this situation was normal anymore. David looked at Lisa, still clutching that piece of paper like it was her last hope. He'd offered her shelter for one night. Now morning had come and he had a choice to make. He could drive her to the bus station and hope for the best. Or he could do something more. Something harder. Something that might turn his whole life upside down. The question was, what would that something be? David sat across from Lisa at the kitchen table, his phone in one hand and that crumpled piece of paper in the other. Sophie had taken Tommy to school, giving them some privacy. The house felt too quiet. "Lisa," David said carefully, "I need you to understand something. If I just put you on a bus to California with no way to contact your aunt, I'd be sending you into the unknown. What if she's not there? What if she can't take you in?" "She will," Lisa insisted, but her voice wavered. "You don't know that." David leaned forward. Look, I know you're scared of the system. I get it. But there are people who can help you the right way. People who can make sure you're actually safe. Lisa's eyes filled with tears again. You don't understand. Every time I've asked for help, it's gotten worse. Nobody believes kids like me. We're just problems to be moved around. David felt that punch in his gut. She was probably right. How many times had she asked for help only to be ignored? I believe you, he said quietly. Lisa looked up, surprised. I believe that someone hurt you. I believe you're scared. And I believe you deserve better than what you've gotten. David put his phone down. But here's the thing. If I let you get on that bus and something happens to you, I'll never forgive myself. And if your foster parents reported you missing, which they probably did, then you're out there alone with people looking for you. Good, Lisa said bitterly. Let them look. I'm never going back there. What if they're not the only ones looking? David asked. What if your aunt's been trying to find you? What if the police are worried about you? Lisa hadn't considered that. David could see it on her face. Let me make a call, David said. Not to your caseworker, not to your foster parents, but to someone who can check if you're reported missing. We need to know what we're dealing with here. And then what? They'll just drag me back. Not if there's evidence of abuse, David said firmly. Not if we have proof. Lisa pulled her sleeves up slowly, revealing the bruises on both wrists. They were dark purple, almost black in some places. Clear finger marks. David felt anger rise in his chest. Do you have any other injuries? He asked. Lisa nodded and showed him bruises on her upper arms. He grabbed me when I tried to leave my room. Said I wasn't allowed to eat dinner because I'd talked back to him. David took a deep breath, trying to control his rage. Okay, we're documenting this. Can I take photos? Lisa hesitated, then nodded. David carefully photographed the bruises on her wrists and arms. When did this happen? The night before I ran. 6 days ago. Lisa pulled her sleeves back down. There are 3 other girls in that house. Younger than me. I tried to tell them to be careful, but they're scared too. David's blood ran cold. 3 other girls? Yeah. The state pays him to take in foster kids. He acts all nice when the caseworker visits, but... Lisa trailed off. David stood up. We're going to the police. Right now. No. Lisa jumped up too. They won't believe me. They never do. They will this time, David said. Because you have proof. And because I'm going with you. Lisa stared at him. Why are you doing this? You don't even know me. Because it's the right thing to do, David said simply, and because those 3 other girls need someone to speak up too. 20 minutes later, they were sitting in the lobby of the local police station. Lisa kept fidgeting with her backpack straps, looking like she might run at any moment. David stayed close, trying to project calm even though his own nerves were frayed. A detective came out to meet them. She was in her 40s, with kind eyes and a no-nonsense attitude. I'm Detective Rodriguez. You called about a runaway? Yes, David said. This is Lisa. She's been staying with me since last night, and I think she needs to talk to you. Detective Rodriguez looked at Lisa. Are you okay with talking to me? Lisa glanced at David, who nodded encouragingly. I guess, she said quietly. They were led to a small interview room. Detective Rodriguez offered Lisa water and sat down across from her. Lisa, I'm going to ask you some questions. You're not in trouble, okay? We just want to understand what's going on. For the next 30 minutes, Lisa told her story. She explained about her mother's death, about being placed in foster care, about running away trying to reach her aunt. She showed the detective her bruises and talked about her foster father's anger, his control, his threats. David waited outside, pacing the hallway. He'd called work to explain he'd be late. He'd texted Sophie to let her know where they were. His normal life felt like it was happening to someone else. Finally, Detective Rodriguez came out. Her expression was grave. Mr. Chen, can I speak with you for a moment? It's David, and yes, of course. They stepped into another room. The detective closed the door. David, I need to ask you some questions, too. Standard procedure. I understand. How did you meet Lisa? David explained about finding her outside the grocery store, about offering her dinner and a place to stay. He showed the detective the photos he'd taken of Lisa's bruises that morning. You did the right thing bringing her in, Detective Rodriguez said. But I have to tell you, this situation is more serious than you might realize. What do you mean? Detective Rodriguez pulled up something on her computer, then turned the screen toward him. It was a missing persons report. Lisa's photo stared back at him from the screen. She's been missing for 6 days, the detective said. There's an active search across 3 states. David's legs felt weak. 3 states? Her foster father reported her missing the morning after she ran. At first we thought it was just another runaway case. But then, the detective paused. 2 days ago, another girl came forward. She's a former foster child who lived in that same home 2 years ago. She saw Lisa's missing person report on the news and called in with allegations. What kind of allegations? The kind that made us open an investigation into the foster father. Detective Rodriguez's jaw tightened. We've been trying to find Lisa because we believe she may have information that could help us build a case. She might not be the only victim. David sank into a chair. She said there are 3 other girls still in that house. We know. We've already started the process of removing them. But we need Lisa's testimony. Will she have to go back into foster care? David asked. That depends. We'll need to work with child services to find appropriate placement. Her aunt in California is one option. But we need to verify that she's able and willing to take custody. What about in the meantime? Where does Lisa go tonight? Detective Rodriguez looked at him thoughtfully. Usually we'd place her in emergency foster care or a group home while we sort this out. But given the circumstances and given that you've already provided her with a safe place. She trailed off meaningfully. You want her to stay with me? If you're willing and if it can be arranged properly through the system. It would provide some stability while we investigate and contact her aunt. David thought about his kids, his job, his simple life that had gotten very complicated very fast. Then he thought about Lisa sitting in that interview room, brave enough to tell her story but terrified of what came next. Yes, he said. She can stay. Detective Rodriguez smiled. I'll make some calls. It took another 3 hours of paperwork, phone calls, and interviews before they could leave the station. Child Protective Services was contacted. An emergency placement hearing was scheduled. Lisa's aunt's information was verified. She did still live at that address, and she was being contacted. When they finally walked out of the police station, it was almost 3 in the afternoon. Lisa looked exhausted. So what happens now? She asked as they got into David's car. Now we go home, David said. We pick up Sophie and Tommy from school. We have dinner. We figure out tomorrow when tomorrow comes. Just like that? Just like that. Lisa was quiet for a moment. They're really going to investigate him? My foster father? Yes. And if what you told them checks out, and I believe it will, he's going to face serious consequences. What about those other girls? They're being removed from the home today. They'll be safe. Tears streamed down Lisa's face, but this time they looked different. Like relief. I didn't think anyone would believe me. I believe you, David said. Detective Rodriguez believes you. And now there are people working to make sure he can't hurt anyone else. They drove in silence for a while. Then Lisa spoke again, softer this time. Why did you help me, really? David thought about it. 3 years ago, my wife died in a car accident. It was sudden. One day she was here, the next day she wasn't. And in those first few weeks, I was drowning. But people helped us. Neighbors brought food. Friends took the kids so I could grieve. Strangers were kind when they didn't have to be. He glanced at Lisa. I learned something then. When the world feels cruel and random and unfair, the only thing that matters is the small kindnesses we show each other. Someone was kind to me when I needed it. Now I'm trying to pass that forward. Your wife sounds like she was a good person. She was the best, David said. She would have done exactly what I'm doing. Probably would have done it faster and better too. Lisa smiled a little at that. When they got home, Sophie and Tommy were already there. David had texted Sophie earlier to explain everything. She'd made snacks and set up the couch with pillows and blankets. So you're staying? Tommy asked Lisa, eyes wide. For a little while, Lisa said. If that's okay, that's awesome. Tommy grinned. I'll teach you to play video games. Sophie rolled her eyes but smiled. Come on. I'll show you where you can put your stuff. As the kids headed to the living room, David stood in his kitchen and realized his life had just changed in ways he couldn't fully understand yet. Yesterday he'd been a single dad following his routine. Today he was temporary guardian to a teenage runaway who might be the key to shutting down an abusive foster home. His phone buzzed. It was Detective Rodriguez. David, we made contact with Lisa's aunt in California. She wants to talk to Lisa. Can you call her at this number? David looked at the number on his screen. This was it. The moment that would determine where Lisa's story went next. He walked to the living room where Lisa sat between his kids, actually laughing at something Tommy said. "Lisa," David said gently, "your aunt wants to talk to you." The laughter stopped. Lisa's face went pale, then hopeful, then scared all at once. Whatever happened next, David knew one thing for certain: nothing would ever be quite the same again. Lisa stared at the phone number like it might disappear if she blinked. Her hands were shaking so badly that David gently took the paper from her. "Do you want me to dial it for you?" he asked. She nodded, unable to speak. David pulled out his phone and dialed. He put it on speaker and handed it to Lisa. The phone rang once, twice, 3 times. Lisa's face was pale. Then a woman's voice answered. "Hello? Aunt Jennifer?" Lisa's voice cracked. "It's me. It's Lisa." There was a sharp intake of breath on the other end. "Lisa, oh my God, Lisa, is it really you?" "Yeah, it's me. Baby, where are you? Are you okay? I've been so worried. The police called me an hour ago and said they found you. I couldn't believe it." The woman was crying now. "I tried so hard to keep you after your mom died. I tried so hard, but they said I couldn't. Not enough room, not enough money. I've thought about you every single day." Tears poured down Lisa's face. "I've been trying to get to you. I had your address. I just wanted to come home." "You are coming home," Jennifer said firmly. "I don't care what it takes. I've got a better job now, a bigger apartment. I'm going to do whatever I need to do to bring you here." Sophie grabbed Lisa's free hand and squeezed it. Tommy moved closer, his usual bouncy energy replaced with solemn concern. "The detective said there's going to be a hearing," Lisa said, "and that I need to testify about what happened." "Then we'll do that," Jennifer said. "I'm booking a flight right now. I'll be there tomorrow morning. You just hold on, sweetie. I'm coming for you." "Okay," Lisa whispered. "Lisa, who's taking care of you right now?" "The detective mentioned a Mr. Chen." Lisa looked at David. "His name is David. He found me outside a grocery store and gave me a place to stay. He's been really kind. Can I talk to him?" Lisa handed the phone to David. He took it off speaker and walked into the kitchen to give Lisa some privacy with his kids. "Mr. Chen, this is Jennifer. I don't even know how to thank you for what you've done for my niece. David, please. And you don't need to thank me. I just did what anyone should do." "But most people wouldn't," Jennifer said. "Most people would have walked right past her. Or called the police and washed their hands of it. You opened your home to her." David looked through the doorway at Lisa, who was now hugging both Sophie and Tommy. "She's a good kid. She's been through hell, but she's strong." "She is. She gets that from her mother." Jennifer's voice got thick with emotion. "My sister died 3 years ago and I couldn't keep Lisa. That's haunted me every day. I should have fought harder." "You're fighting now," David said. "That's what matters." They talked for a few more minutes about logistics. Jennifer would fly in tomorrow morning. There was a court hearing scheduled for the end of the week to determine temporary custody. In the meantime, Child Services had approved Lisa staying with David under emergency placement conditions. When David hung up, he found all 3 kids in the living room. Lisa looked lighter somehow, like a weight had been lifted. "She's really coming?" Lisa asked. "She'll be here tomorrow morning," David confirmed. 9:30 flight lands at 11. Lisa started crying again, but this time she was smiling through the tears. The next few days felt like living in fast forward. Jennifer arrived the next morning, and the reunion was everything Lisa had dreamed of. They clung to each other in the airport, both crying, while David and his kids watched from a respectful distance. Jennifer was in her mid-30s, with the same dark hair and eyes as Lisa. She was warm and genuine, and David liked her immediately. "Thank you," she said to David for the 100th time. "I don't know how to repay you." "You don't need to," David said. "Just take care of her. I will. I promise I will." But taking care of her meant dealing with the legal system first. There were meetings with Child Protective Services, interviews with lawyers, and preparation for the custody hearing. Through it all, Lisa stayed at David's house while Jennifer stayed at a nearby hotel. Detective Rodriguez kept them updated on the investigation. The 3 other girls had been removed from the foster home and were safe. They'd all given statements that corroborated Lisa's story. The foster father had been arrested and charged with multiple counts of child abuse and neglect. "Your bravery started all of this," the detective told Lisa during one meeting. "If you hadn't run, if you hadn't spoken up, those other girls might still be there." Lisa didn't feel brave. She told David that late one night when she couldn't sleep. They sat in the kitchen drinking hot chocolate while the rest of the house slept. "I just ran away," she said. "That's not brave." "You survived," David said. "You found the courage to tell the truth even when you were scared no one would believe you. That's brave. Those other girls were younger than me. I should have done something sooner." "You were a kid yourself, Lisa. You can't carry that weight." Lisa stirred her hot chocolate slowly. "When I was sitting outside that grocery store, I didn't think anyone would help me. I'd been traveling for days and everyone just walked past. I thought maybe the world was just full of people who didn't care. And now I know that's not true." She looked at him. "You cared. Your kids cared. Detective Rodriguez cared. My aunt never stopped caring." She paused. "I guess there are more good people than I thought." "There are," David said. "Sometimes you just have to find them, or let them find you." The custody hearing happened on Friday. David took the day off work to be there for support. Sophie and Tommy wanted to come too, but David thought it was better if they stayed with a neighbor. The courtroom was smaller than David expected. Jennifer sat with her lawyer. Lisa sat next to them, dressed in nice clothes that Jennifer had bought her. David sat in the back, just there to offer silent support. The hearing took 2 hours. Jennifer presented evidence of her stable job, her 2-bedroom apartment, her clean background check. Lisa's caseworker from her home state appeared via video call and admitted that maybe they hadn't listened closely enough to Lisa's concerns. The judge, an older woman with gray hair and sharp eyes, listened to everything. Then she asked Lisa to approach. "Lisa, I've read your file. I've heard about what you've been through. I want you to know that what happened to you was not your fault and the system failed you. We should have protected you better." Lisa nodded, tears in her eyes. "I'm going to grant temporary custody to your Aunt Jennifer, pending a full evaluation in 3 months. If everything goes well, we'll make it permanent." The judge smiled slightly. "I think you found your way home." Lisa broke down crying. Jennifer wrapped her arms around her niece while her lawyer looked relieved. David felt his own eyes getting wet. After the hearing, they all stood outside the courthouse. It was a clear, cold day, the kind where the sky is so blue it almost hurts to look at. "So I guess this is goodbye," Lisa said to David. "Not goodbye," David said. "Just see you later. You've got my number. You can call any time." "I will." Lisa hugged him tight. "Thank you for everything. For believing me. For helping me. For showing me that there are still good people in the world." Sophie and Tommy appeared then, having convinced their neighbor to bring them. They'd made a card for Lisa, decorated with glitter and stickers. "Don't forget us," Tommy said seriously. "Never," Lisa promised. Sophie gave her a long hug. "You're strong, you know that? Whatever happens in California, you're going to be okay." Jennifer shook David's hand, then pulled him into a hug. "I'll take good care of her. I promise." "I know you will," David said. They left for California 2 days later. David and his kids drove them to the airport. The goodbye was tearful but hopeful. Lisa was going home. Really home this time. On the drive back, Tommy was quiet, which was unusual for him. Finally, he spoke up. "Dad, are we going to see her again?" "I hope so, buddy. Me too. I liked having her around." "Me too," Sophie added quietly. David smiled. "You know what? I think we will. I think this is just the beginning of the story, not the end." The weeks that followed felt strange. The house seemed quieter without Lisa, but she called often, her voice getting happier each time. She was enrolled in school. She was seeing a therapist. She and her aunt were learning how to be a family again. David went back to his normal routine: work, kids, homework, repeat. But something had shifted. He noticed people more now. The tired mom struggling with groceries in the parking lot. The old man looking confused at the bus stop. The teenager who seemed a little too alone. He didn't save everyone. He couldn't, but he tried to help when he could. A kind word here, a helpful gesture there. Small things that might mean everything to someone who needed it. One evening, about a month after Lisa left, David got a video call. It was Lisa, and she was smiling wider than he'd ever seen. "Guess what?" she said excitedly. "What?" "My aunt's adoption paperwork went through. It's official. I'm legally her daughter now." "Lisa, that's wonderful. And there's something else." She took a deep breath. "I've been working with a youth advocacy group here. We're trying to help reform the foster care system. and they asked me to speak at a conference next month about my experience. Are you going to do it? I think so. It's scary, but I want other kids to know they're not alone. I want them to know there are people who will believe them. David felt proud in a way he couldn't quite put into words. Your mom would be so proud of you. And so would mine. I know, Lisa said softly. I'm going to make this mean something. What happened to me, what happened to those other girls, it's going to help change things. After the call ended, David sat for a while in the quiet. He thought about that rainy night outside the grocery store, about a split-second decision to stop and help, about how one choice, one moment of compassion had rippled out in ways he never could have imagined. Sophie came in and sat next to him. You okay, Dad? Yeah, David said. I'm good. Just thinking. About Lisa? About a lot of things. He put his arm around his daughter. About how sometimes the smallest actions can change everything. Sophie leaned against him. She's going to be okay, isn't she? Yeah, David said with certainty. She's going to be more than okay. She's going to be amazing. 6 months passed like pages turning in a book. Winter gave way to spring, and life moved forward the way it always does. But some things had changed in ways that would last forever. David was restocking shelves at the hardware store when his phone buzzed. It was a text from Lisa with a photo attached. She was standing in front of her new school holding a certificate. Made the honor roll, the message read. Aunt Jennifer is taking me out to celebrate. Wish you guys were here. David smiled and quickly texted back. So proud of you. We'll video call tonight. His coworker Mike glanced over. That the girl you helped? The one from the news? David nodded. The story had made local news a few months back. Single father's kindness helps crack foster care abuse case, the headline had read. David had hated the attention, but Lisa's lawyer said it helped put pressure on the system to make changes. How's she doing? Really good, actually. She's thriving out in California. Mike shook his head in wonder. You probably saved her life, you know that? David didn't like to think of it that way. I just gave her a safe place to sleep. She saved herself. But that wasn't entirely true, and David knew it. Sometimes people need someone to believe in them before they can believe in themselves. That evening, the whole family gathered around the laptop for their weekly video call with Lisa. It had become a ritual. Every Wednesday at 7 o'clock, Lisa's face appeared on screen bright and animated. Her hair was longer now and she looked healthier. The dark circles under her eyes were gone. Show them the certificate. Jennifer's voice came from off-screen. Lisa held up the honor roll certificate, grinning. Straight A's, can you believe it? Of course we can, Sophie said. You're smart. I never did well in school before, Lisa admitted. I was always too worried about other stuff. But now that I don't have to worry about where I'm sleeping or if I'm safe, I can actually focus. Tommy, now 11 and sporting a new haircut, bounced in his seat. Guess what? I made the soccer team. And Dad's coaching. That's awesome, Tommy. Lisa laughed. Is your dad any good at coaching? He's okay, Tommy said with a shrug. He yells less than the other coaches. They talked for almost an hour, catching up on everything. Lisa told them about her therapy sessions, which were helping her process everything that had happened. She talked about the friends she was making and the art class she was taking. Oh, and the trial date got set, Lisa added, her expression growing more serious. Next month. They want me to testify in person. David leaned forward. How do you feel about that? Scared, Lisa admitted. But ready. Those other girls are testifying too. And Detective Rodriguez said our testimonies together will be really strong. You're so brave, Sophie said. I don't know about that, but I know I need to do it. Not just for me, but for every kid who's still stuck in a bad situation. After the call ended, David found himself thinking about that first night again. He did that sometimes, wondering what would have happened if he'd just walked past Lisa at the grocery store, if he'd minded his own business and gone home. Dad? Sophie's voice broke through his thoughts. She was standing in the doorway. Can I talk to you about something? Always. Sophie sat down next to him on the couch. So there's this girl at school. She's new and she seems really sad all the time. Today at lunch she was sitting by herself and I noticed she wasn't eating anything. Did you talk to her? Not yet. I wanted to, but I didn't know what to say. Sophie looked at her hands. But then I thought about Lisa. About how you just asked if she needed help. So tomorrow I'm going to sit with her at lunch. David pulled his daughter into a hug. That's exactly the right thing to do. Lisa changed us, didn't she? Sophie said quietly. Like we're different now. Yeah, David agreed. I think she did. The next month, David got a call from Detective Rodriguez. The trial was starting and Lisa wanted to know if he could be there. She says you helped her find her courage, the detective explained. She'd like you in the courtroom when she testifies. David didn't hesitate. I'll be there. He flew out to Lisa's home state, taking time off work. Jennifer picked him up from the airport and they drove straight to the courthouse. She's nervous, Jennifer said. She threw up this morning, but she's determined. The courtroom was packed. David sat in the gallery with Jennifer. Lisa was up front with the prosecution team, looking small and scared, but sitting up straight. When it was her turn to testify, Lisa walked to the stand with her head held high. She was sworn in, and then the prosecutor began asking questions. Lisa's voice shook at first, but it grew stronger as she spoke. She told the truth about everything. The fear, the control, the bruises, the threats. She explained why she ran and why it took her so long to tell anyone. I didn't think anyone would believe me, she said. I'd tried before with other adults and nothing changed. So I stopped trying. What made you decide to speak up this time? The prosecutor asked. Lisa looked out into the gallery, her eyes finding David. Someone showed me kindness when I needed it most. He could have walked away, but he didn't. He believed me when I told my story. That gave me the courage to believe that maybe other people would listen too. The defense attorney tried to shake her testimony, but Lisa held firm. She didn't waver, didn't back down. When she finished, you could feel the weight of truth in the room. The 3 other girls testified too, each one braver than the last. By the time they were done, there wasn't a dry eye in the courtroom. The trial lasted 3 days. In the end, the jury found Lisa's former foster father guilty on all counts. He was sentenced to 25 years in prison. Outside the courthouse, reporters swarmed, but Lisa only gave one statement. I want every kid out there who's in a bad situation to know that your voice matters. Tell someone. Keep telling people until someone listens. And to the adults, please listen. Please believe us. We're not making things up. We're asking for help. That clip played on news channels for days. A month later, David got a package in the mail from California. Inside was a framed photo of Lisa at her school's art show, standing next to a painting she'd created. The painting showed a stormy sky with a single bright star breaking through the clouds. There was a letter, too, written in Lisa's careful handwriting. Dear David, Sophie, and Tommy, I've been trying to figure out how to say thank you for months now. Thank you doesn't feel big enough for what you did for me. You gave me more than shelter that night. You gave me hope. I've learned something over these past months. The world has darkness in it, that's true. But it also has light. And sometimes all it takes is one person choosing to be kind to push back that darkness a little bit. You were my light when everything felt dark. You believed me when I'd stopped believing in myself. You showed me that not all adults would hurt me or ignore me. You reminded me that I was worth saving. I'm doing really well now. I'm happy, which is something I didn't think I'd ever be again. Aunt Jennifer and I are building a real life together. I have friends at school. I'm even thinking about college, which feels like a miracle. But the best part is that I get to help other kids now. I volunteer at a youth center on weekends talking to kids in foster care. I tell them my story so they know they're not alone. I'm working with a group that's pushing for reform in the foster care system. We're actually making changes, real changes that will help keep kids safe. None of that would have happened if you hadn't stopped that rainy night, if you hadn't seen me as a person worth helping. I'll never forget what you did for me. You'll always be family to me. With love and gratitude, Lisa, P.S. The painting is called Breaking Through. That's what it felt like when I met you. Like I was breaking through the storm into something better. David read the letter 3 times, then called Sophie and Tommy in to read it together. They all cried a little, but they were good tears. We should visit her this summer, Sophie said. Like actually go to California and see her. I'd like that, David said. I'd like that a lot. That summer they did visit. They spent a week in California, meeting Lisa's friends, seeing her school, visiting the beach. Lisa showed them around like a tour guide, proud of her new life. On their last evening there, they all sat on the beach watching the sunset.